Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Pete Lane. Aira, A-I-R-A, the visual interpreter for the blind. We featured this product with an interview with their Chief Executive Officer, Suman Kanuganti, in July of 2016. Since then, the company and the product have advanced markedly, having implemented their Explorer program, gaining users, and gaining alliances in the business community. This podcast will be the first in a series of in-depth interviews with users, agents, and members of the corporate staff of Aira. Today we chat with Chancey Fleet, a user of Aira. Throughout the interview, we'll be inserting various audio clips from videos as well as comments from other users and corporate team members, including some conversations which I have had with Aira, since I too am an Aira explorer. So without further ado, sit back and relax as we chat with Chancey Fleet, a user of Aira, visual interpreter for the blind. Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Pete Lane. Chancey, would you please introduce yourself and tell us where you're located and what you do?
My name's Chancey Fleet. I am an assistive technology professional. I focus on technology education for people with all kinds of disabilities that affect print reading. And I live in New York City. And my Twitter handle is the same as my name, Chancey Fleet.
That's spelled Chanceyfleet. Well, good morning, Chancey. Thanks for coming on board with us.
Pleasure to be here.
Chancey, you are a user of Aira, the visual interpreter for the blind. Can you tell us when you first learned about Aira and how long you've been a user?
I think I started hearing about Aira a little over a year ago, and the first time that I was able to experience it directly, I believe, was last year at the National Federation of the Blind Convention in July. And I received my Google Glass and started the Aira service 2 weeks ago today.
Wow. So you're still a relatively new explorer.
I am. I've been kind of an early adopter of visual assistance technologies. I'm someone who finds the process of exploration enriching and entertaining, and I like working out little problems and finding out what a new technology will do and won't do. And so I've been using TapTapSee and Be Specular and Be My Eyes and CrowdViz and the Visual Assistance Beta, but the Aira solution is a little bit more comprehensive than those, and so I've been with Aira for 2 weeks.
That's great. Well, since you're still a relatively new user, tell us a little bit about the initial process, the initial assessment that Aira does, and how you got up and running.
The initial assessment was a phone call where an Aira agent asked me some basic questions about myself and my lifestyle, such as whether I travel with a cane or with a dog, and what my level of vision is.
What is your current level of vision?
Totally blind.
Okay, and how many years have you been blind?
I've been legally blind for a lot of years. Totally blind for 20 years.
Okay, and what type of assistive mobility tool do you use most regularly?
The white cane.
All right, and then it is absolutely your choice to opt in or out of this, but do you have any dietary restrictions that you would like listed on your profile?
No, none.
And again, definitely your choice to opt in or out, but do you have any health concerns that you would like listed on your profile? And are you comfortable using escalators?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, sir. So the next two questions I have for you are for the knowledge of our agents. But on a scale from 1 to 5, from 1 being very little detail to 5 being as detailed as possible, how descriptive would you like your agents to be in general?
I think a 5, at least to start with.
Of course. And then if at any time you feel as if your agent is providing too much or too little information, please just let them know and they'll adjust accordingly. And then similarly, how do you prefer that your agent provides orientation information to you? Is clock face best for you, left or right?
Yeah, clock face is best.
Okay. And what type of phone do you currently have?
iPhone 6.
6. Do you know if you have any plans to upgrade soon?
I will when the next iPhone comes in probably September or October. I'll get the iPhone 8.
Okay. Well, you'll have your new glasses.
Yeah, I hope so.
Then. And which carrier are you currently on?
Verizon.
Okay. Who would you like listed as your emergency contact?
And I have to say that I tend to be a person who gets a little prickly about questionnaires, and I wasn't sure where the questions were going. But there was nothing too invasive or personal, and on occasions when I preferred not to answer a question, that was respected, and it was fine. So it was a very easy assessment process. I'm not sure what relationship the questions have to the outcomes that I've been experiencing, but it seems like they have all the information that they need to do a good job.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm wondering if they're getting long-term information that may not be immediately evident as far as, what their needs are.
One thing that did strike me is they asked me on a scale of 1 to 5 how much detail I like to have, and I was totally unable to answer that question because I think it's so dependent on the task. And I think one thing that will evolve over time is norms around communication between a user and an agent to quickly and concisely specify the type and depth of information that's wanted at any given time.
Right.
For now, they talk during the assessment generally about level of detail. I think that that's something that'll become more granular and more specific as the service evolves.
Sure. So tell us about your day-to-day usage. How often do you use the glass and in what situations? First of all, can we start with, are you a cane user and or a guide dog user?
I have a guide dog from Freedom Guide Dogs. We're together almost every day, but there are places where I go with my white cane.
Great. What is your typical use case scenario with the Google Glass and the Aira product?
Well, it's early days for me to have a typical use case, so I've been just trying all different things out with varying levels of success. I've tried Aira while I'm navigating Penn Station. And the first time I tried it, I had some signal interference. And the interesting thing is, if it doesn't work right away and you're in a dense urban environment, just the act of asking these questions into the air is going to get you help in real life. So it's kind of a bad news, good news situation.
Great.
Your signal dropped, but you have all this attention focused on you and people in real life trying to answer the questions. So it kind of worked out. Coming back through Penn Station, I had a really great experience where an agent was able to direct me from my Amtrak escalator as I came out of the train to the place where I needed to be to catch my one train on the MTA. And I'm in Penn Station every month or so. It never seems like I'm there enough to learn it by heart. But maybe now, with Aira's help, I can be a little more systematic and maybe write out the route for myself, write out some little hints for me to remember, because sometimes I space out and don't always remember the little details. So that's something I'm hoping Aira will help me work on, be a little more systematic about the whole situation. And on my journey, I was able to find out about the new Shake Shack that opened.
Oh, sweet. Did they walk you into the restaurant and help you get your meal?
I really just wanted to get back to my office, so I just kind of appreciated that the Shake Shack was there and moved on. I've definitely mentally bookmarked it to come back to.
Is that in Penn Station?
Yeah, it sure was.
Excellent. I'm telling you, I'm from New Jersey and New York. Penn Station would be a real challenge for anybody, any visual descriptor, I think.
Yeah, and parts of it are underground, and so I wonder about the challenges in terms of signal strength. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that Aira and other services faces now, and it's really more of an infrastructure challenge. And over time, there are fewer and fewer places where we don't have a strong enough signal to carry data, so I think that situation will improve, and it's something that has to improve on the infrastructural end rather than on Aira.
I'm wondering if their affiliation with AT&T will enhance that a little bit, get that cellular network up and running.
Yep.
Well, very cool. Tell us, if you can, Chancey, share another example or two of how you've used the glass.
So I travel a lot, and one of the things that I notice as a blind traveler is that there are always things that I'm randomly finding out that I wish I'd known a little sooner, especially when I'm traveling on vacation or just for my own pleasure. And so one of my favorite experiences with Aira so far has been to go into a shopping district in the Hamden area of Baltimore and just ask an agent to let me know about everything that's going on a block in terms of restaurants and shops and sights to see. I remember this one moment where we found a shop, and the shop had an outdoor street display of a mannequin wearing this really ornate, heavy metal jewelry. The agent told me exactly where it was, and I was able to reach out and touch it and check it out, and it was just one of these cool little momentary sensory experiences. And I now feel like I have a real grasp of everything that's on that block, and I know I always have this, like, the blind version of fear of missing out, which is like, you know perfectly well that you missed out on a lot of things. And there wasn't any of that. I was confident that I knew exactly what I wanted to see and didn't want to see on that block.
Of course.
Another success that I've had with Aira, yesterday we hosted Describe-a-thon 17 here at the library.
How does UDescribe work? Sighted people can view YouTube videos and record descriptions of what they see. When the video is played with UDescribe, the descriptions are played back with the video to give blind viewers better access to the content. Descriptions can be contributed by anyone with the time, skill, and inclination, including parents, teachers, and friends of blind UDescribe users. The best part is that it does so without modifying or redistributing the existing YouTube video. It's not a separate version, it's the same version with description added while you watch. And did we already mention that it's completely free? Underneath the hood, UDescribe uses the Descriptive Video Exchange (DVX) to store description clips and information about them. DVX knows what video each clip belongs to and what time the clip should be played. Lots of other information is stored along with the descriptions, including who recorded it, when it was recorded, how popular it is, etc. UDescribe is the first video service to use DVX to allow anybody, anywhere, to record and upload video descriptions to the cloud. It provides a unique way for blind people to get descriptions for the instructional, informational, and entertainment videos offered on YouTube. The Smith-Kettlewell Video Description Research and Development Center developed the Descriptive Video Exchange and UDescribe. UDescribe was developed in collaboration with the Ideal Group and the Description Leadership Network.
It was very exciting, and I was coordinating the event here in New York City, which means that I had to keep track of people and refreshments and laptops and troubleshooting. And amidst all of that, it's my job to take care of the social media, which means I need to take photos and keep track of photo releases. Normally, this is one of those little tasks that it seems like it takes me a lot longer than it would take a sighted person. Typically, I take a ton of pictures and then have someone help me look through them later to weed out the good ones. But this time, I fired up Aira and I connected to an agent. I explained to the agent what I was going to do, and I walked into each work area where I had folks working with the description tool, and the agent helped me line up and compose my shots. When everyone was smiling and the picture looked good, the agent took a picture. I got about 8 pictures in total, captured all of the teamwork that was happening, and the agents emailed me the pictures with text labels already in the file names, and so all I need to do is drop them into the blog, and I know that they look good, and I know that they are ready.
Your own personal photographer. That's great.
And I like it a lot better than handing off the whole job of photography to someone else, because I actually enjoy taking pictures, and the fun thing about this is I'm getting that constant feedback about when my shot is good. I'm learning over time how better to aim, and I've been learning that in other ways for years, but I feel like this is going to accelerate the learning process because I'm getting that real-time feedback from a person. That brings me to another area where I've been experimenting with Aira. This is an area where I feel like best practice is going to be evolving, and we're all kind of learning together. But there are a ton of skill-building things that I want to learn. I've been taking up origami lately. When you go online and Google any kind of origami instructions, you are confronted with an onslaught of diagrams and videos. And so my very first task with Aira was to ask the agent to help me with a version of an origami butterfly that had just been driving me crazy because the text-based instructions next to the pictures were very vague. So using the Google Glass, I had to tilt my chin almost down to chest level. I think if I were to do this activity again, I would switch to the phone camera and maybe put the phone in a stand so that at all times there was a clear view of my hands and the paper. But the agent was able to bring up the web page with the instructions and explain the step-by-step diagrams and then look at my work to confirm whether I was right or set me back on the correct track if I was wrong. The thing is that the visual interpreters are not necessarily experts in any one skill, so they're learning from zero just like you are if you're developing a new skill. But what they can do is they can translate what they see to clear verbal descriptions. And the longer the service goes on and collaboration with the community goes on, the better I think we'll all be at a controlled vocabulary. And with something as technical and precise as origami, things like directions and angles and which way is up and all of these things, it really comes into stark relief how important it will be to develop a robust set of communication tools around that stuff.
Excellent point.
Another super successful thing that happened, a friend of mine ordered an ascot, which is like a Victorian type of tie in the mail, and had no clue how to tie an ascot. So again, we hopped online. We had the agent look at step-by-step picture instructions on the internet about how to tie the thing and observe my friend step by step until the tie was successfully tied. And now that is a skill that my friend has for life.
Sweet. That's great. We may see some specialization too. You may find agents that have the artistic talents, and maybe calls could be routed accordingly if you get some people who needlepoint or sew or something like that. A musician, for example, my son has been approached by a user who wants him to teach him how to play the guitar using the Aira Glass.
Oh, very interesting. So an agent that could read tablature would be really valuable.
Yeah.
And then the training flows both ways, because at the same time, the agent is teaching the user, in some cases for the first time, about how camera angles and glare and lighting conditions affect things and how latency affects things. And so there's a learning curve happening in both directions. And I think it's remarkable, for the most part, how seamless the communication has been with the agents. Even when things are not going according to plan and the task is very challenging, I've noticed that the agents are always professional, always unflappable, always willing to try the next thing when the last 5 things haven't worked.
Right now, you are wearing a white button-down collared shirt. I click on the call button, and then it connects to an agent. In this case, the agent is Emily. Then I tell Emily what our specific task is, and then we get started.
Hi, Aaron. I need to get to Regent's Pizza. Can you help me with that?
I'm pulling in those directions for you now, Juan. Give me one moment.
I guess I would describe it as magical. Now I can walk into a mall, and instead of having to find a security guard or find a kiosk desk, I can walk into a mall, click on Aira, and say, hi, what stores are in my vicinity? What stores do you see? Aira has redefined freedom. It's redefined independence, redefined autonomy. If you are blind and you don't see all of the things in your environment, you don't realize how much you miss out on. And so Aira just opens up this huge environment that you had no idea existed.
They're really doing a great job, even though sometimes there are technical difficulties, and even though there are obvious limitations around photo quality, stream quality, latency, all of that. What they have made it to 100% on is creating a safe space for us all to learn about this technology together and feel really good about experimenting and finding out how it fits, and just being totally game to try anything and to continue to iterate until we find a solution that works.
Excellent. Well, that answers my question about the training and the professionalism of the agents. Good stuff.
Absolutely professional.
What kind of service, as far as how long has it taken to actually connect with the agent? And do you have any recommendations for Aira in terms of enhancing that connectivity and the reliability of the connections?
I have only had one situation during working hours when an Aira agent was unavailable. And that one time I was unable to find someone for about 10 minutes. And someone from the team got back to me, I think about 15 minutes later, and was very apologetic and assured me the agents were ready to help me. And I think we do have to understand that even the most, what we think of as the most stable service, even Google Docs, for instance, goes down once in a while. And so with any technology, we have to always be prepared with a backup plan. And we have to understand that nothing is for sure all of the time. That being said, every other time I've tried, I've gotten an answer within 10 seconds, and I've been able to get on with my task quickly and efficiently, and I've had no complaints. I do wish that the service were 24 hours, obviously, particularly on the weekends when I might be out a little bit later. That's when I tend to be in my most crowded situations, in my most colorful and describable situations. Maybe I'm at a show or a performance or some other kind of gathering in the city, and I might appreciate borrowing a pair of eyes at that point. I'm lucky because I'm on the East Coast, so I'm benefiting from service till 10 in the evening, where if I were in the West Coast, I only have it till 7. But I'm looking forward to even later hours.
Yeah. I wonder, are they planning to expand? I know they're still staffing up in their agents.
I'm sure that they'll do what they can to expand. I think that they're looking at metrics and looking at staffing levels and seeing what they can do and kind of taking the temperature from the community about that.
Chancey, would you recommend Aira as a tool for other blind individuals? And do you have any other comments about Aira, the product, or the company?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. So first, let me address that question. I'm in the business of technology education, And so what I would recommend is that any person who's interested in Aira get a hands-on opportunity to try it, either by enrolling in the program or by coming to a community fair or a convention or a conference. I would never recommend a product, even one that works perfectly for me, without recommending that an individual get some hands-on experience, because what I love may not be to someone else's taste at all. I do think that this is a really promising technology that has the potential to leverage the power of visual interpretation in a way that preserves our efficiency, our autonomy, and a certain subtlety that we might lose when we have an in-person visual interpreter. I think the technology in the long term has potential in all types of places, from consumer spaces to festivals to workplaces and the outdoors. For now, we do struggle with limited hours. We struggle with latency and issues with stream quality. And so the ideal candidate for the program right now will enjoy the process of exploration, will enjoy collaborating in the endeavor of finding out how much the service can do and where the weaknesses are, because by identifying those weaknesses, we help shape the future of the product and in the long run make it better. So if you're somebody that wants to be part of that, great, come on board. If you're frustrated by failure, if you like things to work perfectly as advertised out of the box every time, then any open beta is probably not the right place for you.
Great point. You mentioned shows, festivals, concerts. Have you used them in that type of a situation yet?
I haven't had the chance to use it at any shows just yet. That's actually the one time I was unable to find an Aira agent. But I have used it in some outdoor spaces in New York that are crowded and dense and have unexpected things popping up, so they share some of the same characteristics. So, for example, I was walking in New York last week and came across a pop-up vegetable stand. I had no idea it was there. They were able to help me pick out some things, and so that same element of discovery was there. And I look forward to trying it at some community events coming up. One of the things that I think will contribute most strongly to Aira's success is how seriously the Aira team is taking collaboration with the community. They've established a mailing list where there's open communication, not just between them and community members, but among community members.
Welcome to the Aira Explorers mailing list. The Aira Explorers discussion group is a place where our users can share experiences and observations about the Aira system. This group follows the model established by the National Federation of the Blind when we began working with Ray Kurzweil in 1974, in which the Federation takes an active role in working with users and companies to create the best products for blind consumers. The Federation is excited about Aira and its possibilities and looks forward to a strong partnership between the two organizations. Discussion members are encouraged to openly share with colleagues what is good about Aira as well as ways Aira can be improved. Aira team members are encouraged to participate in discussions so that they can better get to know the actual users of the product as well as see firsthand how users are progressing with their Aira systems. This group is intended to promote collaboration between Aira and its customers. All discussion topics concerning the Aira product are welcome.
So we really all are learning together and sharing experiences and contributing that knowledge back to the team. It feels like there's really open two-way communication. I am the type of person that no matter how good a technology is, it is my job to find the weak points and to start griping. And so not long after I got my Google Glass and started with Aira, I said to an agent, it's really annoying when you take a picture that I get this verbose picture taken message that says something along the lines of, taking picture, please wait, uploading, upload finished. I found that totally distracting, and my shoulders just started hunching every time it started because I was just so annoyed. And I told them it was very verbose, and they did what an agent, a customer service person always does. They said, thanks for your feedback, and I didn't think anything would happen. And then in the next release, like 5 days later, the horrible verbose message was gone, and there was just a nice picture click sound. And so they really do respond to feedback, and they do it quickly. The last thing that I wanted to bring up is more of a question that I have for the future. So I noticed in the Aira training materials that Aira agents are supposed to be objective. They're not supposed to give their personal opinions. And most of the time, I think this makes perfect sense. I never want unsolicited opinions. However, yesterday when I did those social media pictures, I did notice at one point I asked the agent, there were two similar shots, which of these pictures do you think is a better one? And she said very diplomatically, I'll send them both to you. And I didn't push her on the point because I knew why. I knew what the training was. But I think as the service evolves, we should have a conversation about what we can do to signal that we want objectivity waived and to what extent the agents are comfortable with that. There's another service, which is a volunteer-powered service called Be Specular. I find this service empowering and awesome and charming in a totally different way, because you can send out a picture and members of the community will weigh in and tell you exactly what they think about it. And so when I'm thinking about buying a piece of jewelry or clothing, or I'm wondering what to wear with what, I will send that question out to Be Specular, and it's always so much fun to get various responses and kind of puzzle them together into an informed decision that I'll make myself. And I hope that a future Aira will offer a similar experience in addition to the more objective information. Because let's face it, a lot of life is subjective, and a lot of visual perception in particular is subjective. And the way that sighted people see the world, we want to understand it, and we want to be informed by that perspective as well.
That's right. That's how we would draw our own conclusions and make our own opinions. We can't see the blues and the greens and the subtleties of the visual, so we have to compile it from their interpretation. Good stuff. Yep. We have been speaking with Chancey Fleet. Chancey is an assistive technology professional living in New York City in the United States. Chancey, thank you so much for joining us. You've been very helpful.
Thank you. Thanks for facilitating the conversation.
I'd like to thank Chancey Fleet for chatting with us today and for sharing her candid and informative thoughts about Aira, the product, and the company. I'd also like to thank Patrick Lane for his great acoustic guitar music. For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities or download our free app in the iOS App Store. That's 2 words, Blindabilities. Stay tuned for more episodes in this, our mini-series, an in-depth look at Aira, the product and the company. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great day.
When we share
what we see through each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
the limited expectations
and the
realities of blind abilities.
The realities of blind abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities, download our app from the App Store, Blindabilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.